Line is hot.
A gold dot sight. This should be interesting. New concepts are often met with hairy-eyed suspicion in the gun world. There is nothing worse than beta testing a new gizmo and having your hard-earned money go to waste because, no sir, I don't like it. Last time I checked, no one really asked for a gold dot sight. However, Holosun has delivered something quite new. Green was the new hotness working its way into the various dot sights, and along comes Holosun with a left field submission. The question is, does it put red and green dots out to pasture? The model we're looking at today is the HE403R-GD Gold Dot. It's one of the many models available from Holosun and one of the new models available in the Gold Dot color. As a first-time owner, initial impressions of the Holosun are positive. The Gold Dot sight is an Aimpoint Micro-esque clone with the rotary dial switch on the side, recessed adjustment knobs, and it includes a lower third and a low-rise mount. The supplied mount has a steel foot clamp and is tightened by the included hex key. The sight operates on standard 2032 batteries. It features 2 NVG settings and 10 daytime settings. At setting 6, it sports 100,000 hours of battery life. Price retails at around $180. Overall, the build quality feels solid. The anodizing is smooth black and construction appears clean. Glass is crystal clear with no obvious tint or just the slightest hint of a tint. The front lens has a slightly golden tint rather than the typical red of a red dot sight. As you can see, the emitter is located kind of between 5 and 6 o'clock and is overall very flat and unobtrusive. The windage and elevation turrets are sealed with a rubber gasket, and once removed, the caps themselves are used to adjust windage and elevation. The clicks are positive if not a little stiff, and the turrets appear to be well made. The mechanical switch clicks from brightness setting to setting with a satisfying clunk. Overall build quality appears excellent, and there are no alarms being raised in my head. At first glance, the dot appears goldenish, kind of, maybe sort of. Depending on the background and ambient light, the dot can look bright neon yellow to a mostly neon yellow with a touch of nuclear green. In the video, the camera makes the dot look a bit more green than it looked to the shooter. Keep in mind the human eye catches the amber element a little bit more obviously than the camera. Brightness is not an issue. In the daytime, setting 12 gives off a crisp nuclear glow in full bright environments. When sighting in, I noticed the dot required excessive windage and elevation adjustment to zero out of the box. This possibly means that it was not factory zeroed at the middle of its adjustment range, or that the mount was possibly canted, or that my new build was shooting way off. I did eventually get it zeroed and did not have any more issues past that. I installed irons after zeroing the gold dot and found them to be close to a neutral setting as far as windage and elevation. So perhaps the factory mount is slightly off center? That's unknown at this time. Aside from that issue, the dot functioned as designed. Outdoors, the dot was easy to spot and was bright enough to prevent washout on any target, especially at higher settings. Indoors and in low light, I found the dot needed to be run at around setting 9 or 10. If you ran it at setting 12, you had a large amount of green window bloom, and settings 3 through 8 could be washed out by weapon light at close ranges. Moving to back across the room distances, the hotspot of my WML diffused enough to make the lower settings visible, but not enough to be comfy. I would say that my favorite setting so far is 9 for all around, no fiddle indoors, outdoors, daytime, nighttime, low light, weapon light use. If I'm purely outside in the daytime, I crank it to 11 or 12. Since setting 6 is nearly useless in bright light or with a weapon light, I do not consider this optic to have a full 100,000 hours of battery life if left always on at a usable level for self-defense. Setting 9 is where you need to be at. During wet weather testing, the dot exhibited no evidence of water infiltration. I shot 180 rounds in steady rain, and let me tell you, it was very difficult to obtain good target visuals through glasses and then through the red dot sight. Having 3 panes of glass between you and the target, all beaded with water and fog, really made it a challenge to hit the steel. This is no fault at all of the Holosun, of course, but just an observation for the glasses wearer. After a few magazines, I then threw the rifle and Holosun into the water and pulled it back to myself via the sling. No water infiltration occurred. I then continued to shoot thereafter for a few more magazines until I saw lightning approach. The Holosun's amber, gold / slightly greenish dot was very easy to pick up in this type of environment. There is nothing in the area that quite matches that amber gold color of the Holosun. So shooting these plates here was a breeze. In urban settings, however, I believe this could wash out a little more against a white background than, say, red or green. And it's just something you're going to have to give and take. Each color dot has its advantages and disadvantages, so take that for what it is. I did some additional testing at home with a weapon light under simulated rain conditions. It was easy enough to pick up the dot at 15 yards against this fence line. It was bright and easy to recognize, even with the raindrops. I also put the gold dot in my fridge and frosted the lenses. Though it doesn't appear visible in the photos, to the human eye I could easily see the dot floating around these frosted panes of glass. In effect, with both lenses frosted, it became an occluded eye gun sight until it warmed up to ambient temperature and the clarity returned. A few weeks later, I conducted basic shoulder level drop testing to evaluate the optic zero retention. After 3 drops onto dry soil, I observed no major issues from a functional standpoint. Zero was retained, and the range session was wrapped up without issue. By this time, I had changed to a Daniel Defense setup as far as the mount, and I do not recall having difficulty re-zeroing, so perhaps the sight left the factory without being placed at its neutral point. Regardless, once I did get it zeroed, I had no further concerns. The Holosun HE403R-GD is a robust optic which will satisfy the needs of shooters who are at a mid-level budget. At $180, I feel happy with the purchase, and I don't have any major concerns about its performance as a civilian shooter. I would hope that Holosun is setting the optic to a neutral windage and elevation adjustment from the factory, but perhaps I got an optic that was finished on a Friday afternoon. Other than the excessive dialing to zero the optic out of the box, the Holosun is impressive for the price. Changing the mount out to a Daniel Defense mount gives me a bit more confidence in the factory mount, but I met no problems with the factory mount either, so take that for what you will. The gold dot as a concept is just as valid as red or green dots. It's just environment specific. I noticed that it was very excellent against green foliage, against outdoors, and even against white targets in the outdoors, but at point blank, really bright lights such as a weapon light can wash it out at danger close distances. But like any reticle color choice, it has its ups and downs. But for colorblind shooters, well, this is an option for them. Thank you for watching. Please visit the blog and like and subscribe. The blog is at www.thenewrifleman.com. I took no compensation whatsoever for this review and purchased this optic with my own cash money. Once again, thanks for watching. New Rifleman signing out.